It seemed to me that I found the passages to those dark recesses of my mind from which chaos issues without warning, hurling thoughts, plans, emotions, and intentions in all directions. I felt I had discovered what it was that had always kept me from attaining psychological integrity, wholeness, the reconciliation and joining together of the disharmonious fragments of my mind. ADD seemed to explain many of my behavior patterns, thought processes, childish emotional reactions, my workaholism and other addictive tendencies, the sudden eruptions of bad temper and complete irrationality. I know it's hard to believe, but I'm talking about myself here. The conflicts in my marriage and my Jekyll and Hyde ways of relating to my children. So for me, thank you, for me it was a way of really recognizing myself. And I was 54 at the time, and I always had this sense that I had a potential that I haven't fulfilled. And I used to be frustrated by it. And then when I came upon this diagnosis, now I realized why. Now, one of the things I've always wanted to do was to write books. I'm a good writer, and I always wanted to write books. I could never do it because I didn't understand myself enough. I didn't understand how my mind worked. So for me to find out how my mind actually worked was a liberation. It was a real liberation, that I'm not actually limited, but that there's certain mechanisms in my mind that I have to deal with. That actually it's possible for it to me express my potential. I was 54 when I was diagnosed. Since then I've written 4 best-selling books that have been published in over 20 languages now. And I would not have done it without that diagnosis, because I still would be frustrated not understanding myself. So for me, a diagnosis is never, if it's an appropriate diagnosis, it's never a limitation, it's actually a liberation. Because it explains to me, here's what's going on, how do I learn to understand this, and how do I get to work with it. So for me, it was very much what you said, that it was a way of opening up to my possibilities. And so any of you that are worried about that, no, in order to grow, you have to actually deal with what's there. So recognizing what's there is an essential beginning. Okay? Thank you. Other questions? Yes. So that we need the